Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, January 19th, 2023. And our top story today, we've got some tips to help you tackle that holiday credit card debt. And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Rod Griffin is with Experian. Rod, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Jeff, Happy New Year to you. Great to be back.
And it's 2023 is I feel a new, it's a brand new year. The slate is clean, but I have to say that a lot of people like myself are struggling with credit card debt. I want to start off our conversation. What is your take on personal consumer debt, credit debt? Has it gone up? Has it stayed the same? What do you see from the Experian point of view?
The holidays tend to get us in that way. It's joyous until the bills come in January. So we're seeing some of that. We are seeing just industry-wide some increases in credit card debt for the first time in a number of years. So that may be not so bad. It might be a sign that people are still doing just fine. It could be that we're taking on too much or beginning to. We're not there yet, but we are seeing credit card debt increase. And, as we know, over the holidays, when that happens, it can linger and it can be a starting point that can make it hard to recover over the course of the year. So we want to make sure people don't slide down a slippery slope and that they resolve those issues and use credit well and to their advantage, and so that they're better prepared for the coming year.
Really good point. And credit and debt are not bad things if you use them prudently. Just kind of want to ask you about, and thank you for that analysis. I want to ask you about inflation, because a lot of us, all of us on this conversation in the interview, we're all facing some type of food inflation, gasoline prices. How has that impacted credit card balances? People are charging more for their groceries.
Exactly. Inflation is hitting all of us, and it's across the board financially. Inflation takes money out of your wallet, and unfortunately, people will sometimes turn to other ways to supplement that loss, and often that's credit cards. And taking on debt as a means to supplement income or disposable income, especially, is a difficult position to be in, and it's one that I worry about. And talk to my family about. I talk to people every day about being very careful about using a credit card and taking on debt to offset the impacts of inflation. It's better if you can to find ways to reduce your expenses, which sounds easy, can be very hard to do. Because we all have to put, as you said, gas in our vehicles. We have to get to work. We have to pay the bills every day. We have to heat our homes in the wintertime and cool them in the summer. So it's difficult, and inflation puts a pinch on everyone. And, I don't know that there's a great universal answer, but, we're here for the same reasons. We have to help people understand how to budget better, understand how to take advantage of opportunities that are there with credit, potentially, how to work with their lenders, how to take advantage of offers that may reduce their interest rates, perhaps help them pay down debts, those sorts of things, so that they don't get into trouble offsetting increased costs with increased debt.
Last question before we go to a commercial break, because on the flip side, we're going to talk about some tips. I know you've got some great ideas to help people get that debt under control. Let's talk about higher interest rates. We have just experienced, I think, the first time in recent memory, at least I'm older now, but maybe my memory is going. But in recent memory, we're seeing rate increases from the Federal Reserve. That has a correlation to interest rates on your credit card.
It does eventually. The interest rates that the Fed's increasing are interest rates they charge to the banks to borrow money from the Fed. And in turn, that will get passed down to consumers at some point, which means your interest rates on your credit cards, your interest rates on personal loans, interest rates for mortgage loans, interest rates for installment loans, auto loans will start to creep up. And we're seeing that. We've seen it hit the market. That makes it harder to obtain credit. Lenders become more more reluctant to lend unless you have really strong credit, because higher cost means higher risk for them and for you to repay that debt. And so it's not just that you pay more for debt, it can become more difficult to access those credit services as well. And that tends to compound. So we want to see people compound interest. We don't want to see people compound debt. And we don't like to see compounding financial challenges affecting people's wallets. So it's a difficult mix right now.
Rod, last question. I lied, by the way, that it was going to be the last question. But the real last question, buy now, pay later versus credit cards. The BNPL, as they're termed, became very popular in 2022. Is that a greater portion of personal debt relative to credit cards than it has ever been at any time?
Yeah, well, BNPL is sort of the new layaway plan, but with no layaway. So you and I may be old enough to remember layaway.
I remember layaway, yeah.
So what we're seeing is a significant increase in the use of buy now, pay later programs across all demographics. So young to old and everything in between. The challenge is that it doesn't appear in traditional credit reporting systems. It doesn't appear in ways that can be accounted for by lenders and others historically. So what we know is that there's much more debt being taken on through BNPL programs. So it's small debts that can add up to a lot, and those small debts can stack. Something they call loan stacking. If a person has, one statistic that I've seen is that if a person has one BNPL loan, they probably have 4 or 5. So it's rarely just one. And as a result, getting a pair of shoes using BNPL and $100 or $200 isn't a big deal. But when you have that plus new clothing, plus something at the hardware store, plus who knows what else, because you can get just about everything on BNPL, that little loan adds up and it's not always visible. So it's an interesting kind of development that we're all still trying to figure out. And what does it mean in terms of the ability for a person to repay their other debts? Are people becoming over indebted through BNPL programs? We don't know exactly. And that's a huge challenge. It's such a new sort of Wild West kind of part of the lending world. There are very few or no regulations. All of the loan systems or processes are different and unique. So there's no consistency. It's a really challenging area, and it can be very beneficial to a consumer, but it could also be fraught with risk and could be very dangerous in terms of their finances. So it's one we need to figure out.
Yep, that's where debt, it can be a good thing. It can also be a very slippery slope. Rod, and take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about some tips to help you pay down that holiday debt, get you on the fast and narrow. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're joined this morning by Rod Griffin of Experian. Rod, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Jeff, always glad to be around, have a chance to talk.
This is so important. It's always important to get off the year on the right step, whether you're working out, trying to lose some weight, or slim down your credit card balances as well. Rod, let's before we jump into the credit card, some tips that you might have, let's talk about the importance of the credit score and the impact. I think you alluded to this, but that's a good thing. It's a tool in the toolbox, I think you would say. What about credit score? What do we need to know about the credit score and the importance of that?
Sure, and I often say credit's a financial tool. Debt can become the financial problem. Credit, when you use it well, can be used to your financial advantage. You can have credit, not carry debt, and that's something people don't think about. So if you have a credit card and you pay that balance in full each month and you get cash back or discounts on purchases or other incentives, that could be a financial advantage for you. And your credit report and therefore your credit score play a big part in that. Credit scores represent the information in your credit report and the likelihood that you'll repay a debt as agreed. So lenders use credit scores to help them evaluate whether you'll pay them back or not. That's critical because it helps them determine the interest rates they'll charge, the fees that you may have to pay, deposits, those sorts of things with credit arrangements. So having a good credit score will save you money in the long term. It also empowers you to negotiate with your lenders. So if you're talking about holiday debt today, if you're carrying holiday debt, you have a credit card with high interest rates. If you have strong credit scores, that empowers you to go back to the lender and say, look, I'll manage my credit well. You can look at my credit history. My credit scores show I'll pay you back. Give me a better interest rate. And they may well do that. So it gives you bargaining power to have a good credit score. It lets you walk into the lender and say, give me what I want because I know I meet the criteria that you have.
That's really good feedback. And that's a perfect transition to some tips. One of the first tips, as you said, is negotiating or trying to negotiate that annual percentage rate. And based on what you're saying, it is negotiable. And so you shouldn't accept that, whatever the rate is, try to go back regardless and negotiate a lower rate.
Yeah, it's the average interest rates on credit cards have been creeping up. They're around 17% right now, something like that. If you have good credit scores, it never hurts to ask. Even if you don't, it never hurts to ask. The worst they'll do is say, no, you need to continue paying on that account. So good credit scores let you walk in and say, look, instead of that 17%, can you give me something less? And if they do, that lowers your monthly payment, helps you repay that debt, helps you stay in control of your finances. And that's what we want, is people to control their money, not have their money control them.
Rod, another tip, look for 0% transfer cards. How important is this? Is this accessible to almost anyone?
It's getting more difficult. There are fewer of those kinds of offers out there, but they still exist. So lenders may offer introductory rates, and they offer a 0% interest rate for 6 months or a year. one of the ways you might take advantage of that is if you subscribe to, for example, Experience free services, we will help match you to credit cards that may offer those best rates or better terms for you. Do that at Experian.com. I always have to plug our company.
Of course,
and
understood.
But we do help match people to the cards that will help them. So take advantage of tools like that. One of the things that I always caution, though, is if you get what they call an introductory rate, it will expire. And if you haven't repaid the debt on that card, the interest rate could be accruing and suddenly you'll face much higher payments and a much higher debt. So if you do transfer your fees or transfer your balances, make sure you understand the terms when you do that. When do they have to be paid back? What are the consequences if you don't? If you use that card for other purchases, does that affect that rate? Make sure you always understand the terms of the contract you're agreeing to, but they're out there and could be an advantage.
Well, you already talked about limiting your spending, but there are two more tips that I want to go over with you, if you don't mind, because we're running out of time, unfortunately. I could talk to you for hours about this. Next up is taking advantage of a low-interest personal loan to consolidate debt. Is this available? I guess this is a good thing if you can bring everything together under one umbrella. How plausible is it, though?
It's plausible. It can be difficult. A personal loan typically is an unsecured loan. The idea is you take out a personal loan at a lower interest rate. It's an installment loan rather than a credit card with a revolving account. Pay off your credit card debts, and then you have a lower payment to pay off that installment loan. The risk is that you can be tempted then to use those credit cards because now they have a zero balance. And you have to be sure that you have a plan and that you don't fall victim to that temptation. So if you pay off those accounts with a consolidation loan or a personal loan, pay that loan off, great plan. If you stick to the plan. If you don't and you take on more debt, you'll find yourself.
I like that you say that. I mean, it's like you gotta, if you're gonna do it and pay it off and you're gonna consolidate it, you gotta pay off the you don't want to run the card back up. Last question, and we're approaching tax season, unfortunately for many, myself included. But now's the time to possibly change your tax withholding. Don't wait for the tax refund at the end of the year if you're privileged enough to get one, right? You can adjust your tax withholding to make sure that you have more take-home pay and therefore more money to spend on goods, but also maybe pay off some of that credit card debt.
Yeah, that's something I would advise. Talk to an accountant or your financial advisor. Changing your withholding rates, using that refund if you get one to help pay down debts can be another strategy. There are other things you can do as well. Automate your payments, make sure that your payments are being made on time, out of sight, out of mind, get it done. Make sure that you're taking advantage of offers for the best terms and rates. Make sure that you are staying on top of your credit history. Monitor that credit report, improve that credit score, because that's going to help you improve your terms overall. And take advantage of tools like Experian Boost that helps you report, that enables you to report your utility payments, your cell phone payments, your streaming services to boost that credit score. Just go to Experian.com/boost. It's a free service. Anything you can do to strengthen your financial health and well-being and what lenders see will help you address those debts that we're facing coming off of the holidays.
Yeah, I've been taking notes, and as soon as we're done with this program, I'm going to be headed down to put down some good information to help pay off some of my credit card debt. Rod, really great to see you as always. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Hey, Jeff, thank you very much.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest security news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? Well, visit our website and, of course, all of our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives.
I'm a divorced single mom, and my ex-husband left me and the kids with a lot of unpaid bills, including unpaid taxes. I was really starting to show my stress on my kids because the IRS had sent me a letter demanding a huge payment from me. I couldn't afford it. So then the IRS was threatening to garnish my wages. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That would have put me over the edge financially.
It truly seemed hopeless, but then a friend at work told her to call the tax relief line.
The people at the tax relief line, they told me about something called innocent spouse relief. They worked it out so that all of the taxes from my ex are not my problem. I don't know how that works, and I don't care. All I care about is that I don't owe the IRS a dime, and they are not going to take my paycheck.
Even if it seems hopeless, you should call the number on your screen right now. There is absolutely no cost for the call or the consultation. You are under no obligation. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.